Travel back in time with a trip inside the Iowa's News Now vault.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is releasing near-record levels of water from Coralville Reservoir into the Iowa River. That's an increase of 20% since Friday. Park officials say they're trying to increase the water flows now to avoid even higher flows later on.
The rains just show no signs of letting up and changing, so we're getting close to running out of storage capacity here, and we do not want it to go over the spillway. So the only option we have is to increase the outflows. Once it starts to go over the spillway, there is no more control. The storage is completely gone on the lake, and whatever flows would come in on the river would have to be released on down to Iowa City. So
downstream from the reservoir, residents on Lower River Road are preparing for the worst. John Suter and his family have been sandbagging since 10:30 this morning in hopes of fighting back the flooding.
I've been here 6 years, and it's the worst I've ever seen it by about 1.5 feet, I'd say. I've got sandbags, I put plastic behind the sandbags, I've got 4 sump pumps. Everything's up about 2 feet off the floor.
Residents here don't blame the Corps of Engineers, and they say they're ready to take Mother Nature's best shot.
Last night we spent about 4 or 5 hours getting as much of the furniture up on blocks and on buckets that we could in the house. You try not to get tense. I was getting extremely tense, and thank goodness for friends that we have, because I think they're helping get rid of the tension.
It's just unpredictable. That's the frustrating thing about it. You know, you're trying to go to sleep at night and you're visualizing 3 feet of water going across your living room. Then the reality sets in. And
a lot of what we do is going to depend on the rains, how much we get. We'll increase the flows accordingly to try and avoid overtopping the spillway. And if it's a lot of rain, it's probably going to mean a lot more water downstream.
Curtis Miles, Channel 2 News, Johnson County. Pumping water out of homes has become routine for New Hartford residents, as a second wave of flooding in 2 weeks has left their community struggling to get back on its feet.
The first flood we had was devastating enough. With this flood we've had this time, the water seems to have been a little bit higher in areas and done more damage. There's more structural damage to some of the homes. At this point, I don't know where to go. I think I'm going to try to get a hold of the governor's office or Grassley's office and try to get some help out here.
Mayor Luck says the mud and water is doing more than just structural damage to the homes and streets in this small community. It's also weighing down morale.
This time, I can see the attitudes of people. It's really hurt them. They really need help. We're kind of got our backs against the wall, and we just don't know where to go from here. And if we have another flood, I don't know what we're going to do.
Laverne Dennis's foundation washed out this time, leaving his furnace and hot water heater underwater for the second time in 2 weeks.
It wears on you quite a bit, but by the time you think everything's ready to be cleaned up and stuff, and then it comes again.
Friday night, Wayne Thorne and his son tried to protect their home with sandbags.
Until you get a little tired of it. Every time it rains, you want to just say the heck with it and get out, but what can you do? You got to keep going, I guess.
In the meantime, residents will continue their cleanup and hope for state financial assistance to help bail them out. Curtis Miles, Channel 2 News, New Hartford. County officials say heavy rains over the past couple of weeks have done an estimated $50,000 damage to county roads. Lynn County road crew spent most of the day preparing roads and culverts for even more flooding.
If you don't get the corn stalks out of there, the next water that comes along is going to go right over the road, and the road's soft, and it's just going to wash your road out.
Poor drainage through a small culvert south of the O'Connell residence filled their yard and basement with water.
There's mud all over everything in the basement, about 1 foot up. The laundry room is so slippery that I fell this morning. It's just horrible.
Meanwhile, Johnson County residents living downstream from the Coralville Dam are preparing for an overflow of water heading their way. Huge amounts of water are forcing the Army Corps of Engineers to release more water from the reservoir.
The rains just show no signs of letting up and changing, so we're getting close to running out of storage capacity here, and we do not want it to go over the spillway. So the only option we have is to increase the outflows.
Residents living downstream are preparing for the worst.
I've got sandbags, I put plastic behind the sandbags, I've got 4 sump pumps. Everything's up about 2 feet off the floor.
The release of floodwaters is good news for some people along the Coralville Reservoir. Paul Johnson, owner of Jolly Roger Park, with the help of Representative Dave Nagel, says the federal government will help pay for his damages. Floodwaters also forced 10 campers to evacuate from George Wythe Park in Waterloo as low-lying areas began filling with water. In Cedar Rapids, the Cedar River is expected to swell another 5 feet, cresting at 15 feet on Tuesday. Unfortunately, there seems to be little relief in sight as showers and thunderstorms will remain in the forecast indefinitely. Curtis Miles, Channel 2 News, Cedar Rapids.
The Wapsipinicon River looked more like a lake in Independence this afternoon. Heavy rains over the past 2 days have forced the river over its banks in some low-lying areas. While the flooded streets may be fun for some, most residents see them as indicators of a potentially serious problem. Paul Close's basement took in several inches of water.
This is the second time within a year. Hopefully it'll be another 5 years before it happens again. The last time it was 5 to 6 years in between times. Hopefully it'll wait.
Mayor Frank Brimmer declared a state of emergency last night as the river swelled close to flood level. He feared the city's sanitary sewers wouldn't be able to handle the overflow of groundwater, resulting in a lot more flooded basements. Fortunately, he said today, it looks like the problem is under control.
The velocity of the water has slowed down considerably, and we expect the crest to come within the next 12 to 24 hours. And I do not anticipate a lot of damage at this point in time.
Authorities in Independence say the river leveled off at about 11.5 feet this afternoon. That's about a half foot below flood level. Should the river rise to 12 feet, the people here say they're ready.
I think we've gotten dumped on pretty hard this week, but the people in Independence will take this in stride, and they'll come back. There's no problem there. It's not going to be a morale killer anyway. It's we'll make it back.
They take it with a grain of salt and help each other. And that's what we did last August, helped each other as much as possible, and I hope that's what they'll do this year.
John Miller, Channel 2 News, Independence.